This is FightFans Radio.
Yes, sir, we promised you a great
Gorgeous George. Here he comes.
Classy, the maker of
Andre, the giant. WrestleMania.
Everyone has a price.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is electric.
The champ is here.
What's up, everybody? It's Geno Morosco, the General, CagesideSeats.com, Cageside Live, all the good stuff. I am joined, as always, at least as always now, by my co-host, partner in crime, the Roth himself. What's up, Roth?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing terribly, actually. It's Halloween, and I'm here talking to your fucking ass instead of out getting candy.
Man, you know what? The feeling's mutual.
So neither of us wants to be here right now, actually. So
To a nicer guy, it couldn't happen.
that bodes well for the rest of you. We're gonna be joined here. I'm not. When should we bring Keith on?
Man, I don't know. Whenever you want to. It's your show.
Whenever it's my show. Oh god.
Yep.
Does that mean I have some sort of responsibility to it?
You are responsible for coming up with the topics of the show, as well as the day-to-day operations. You have to clean the studio. You're in charge of everything, sir.
It's no wonder everything's so sloppy and we're bombing and the ratings and all that stuff.
Man, we need to get Lex Luger to come in.
Yeah, we're losing to Untethered in the ratings, so we gotta figure something out. We're about to go head to head at this point. Have you show up on one and the other in the same night? So I guess you'll be my Lex Luger.
I will be your Lex Luger, or your Rick Rude, or
But Rude didn't have the same impact.
Yeah, that was because Luger came first.
Yeah, Luger was like a big deal. Or I guess you'd rather be like Hall or Nash, right?
I don't really want to be Scott Hall. That's super depressing.
Why? I mean, he had a whole gimmick at one point where his whole gimmick was getting drunk in the ring.
Yeah, like
matches. That doesn't sound appealing to you?
like who in WCW is like, yeah, totally, great idea.
Somebody okayed that. Like, hey, here's what we want to do with Scott Hall, right? Okay, yeah, Scott Hall. We want to have him, like, we actually want to take a cup that's got actual alcohol in it and let him drink it while he's applying an abdominal stretch.
Oh, yeah, by the way, he's actually a raging alcoholic.
Yeah. He's probably taken 38 somas before he ever walked out to the ring, and now we're going to feed him alcohol while he's trying to work.
But it's a great idea. It's a great idea, guys. Like, that's when creative should have nothing for you. Or that's a case of creative having nothing for you, and it's like, oh, you're an alcoholic? Totally. Let's just be real life.
Like, somebody said yes to that. We were talking about how incompetent WCW was last week. Someone said yes to that.
Man, I'm telling you, we could have like a whole 24-hour show of just talking about how incompetent WCW was. But at the same time, like, WWF was kind of fucked up too. Like,
they were really bad too, yeah.
Like they approved of like Max Moon and like what was the other the mime, whatever, the mime Mysterio,
Bastion Booger. There's a lot of them.
Oh, like it's so bad, man.
So, like, watch the 1995 Royal Rumble. It's a jobber's delight. I think there's like Bulldog and Shawn Michaels, and I'm pretty sure that's the extent of the star power. Everyone else was like Duke the Dumpster, Repo Man.
You actually know what would be awesome? You know how like they do like the legends come back every single year for Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
If they end up actually just like doing all the 95 Royal Rumble guys, all the jobbers, and then like CM Punk.
That would be awesome, but no one would know who any of them were. And you know they're all like fat and out of shape now. Like really a lot worse than they were before.
You mean fatter and out of shape and more out of shape?
Yeah. Even more fat and out of shape. Okay, so a couple reasons this show is like kind of bittersweet, kind of good and kind of not. There's obviously one, it is Halloween, and it's a holiday, and main event's going on right now, so if you're watching that show and listening to us, what's up, everybody? I know you want to see our beautiful faces, but, you know, we'll let you watch main event and listen to us. But it's Halloween. Happy holidays to everybody out there. I hope you got lots of candy. And if you didn't, I hope you have kids that you can just gank their candy and have them be your slave driver. Um, but also because of what's going on the East Coast right now. And we want to make sure that we get the chance to say, and I know you probably have buddies there because you lived in Jersey, didn't you, for a while?
Yeah, no, I grew up in Jersey, so like I
Yeah.
moved down to Texas at like 25, so
Oh, okay.
like
I thought
25 years.
I thought you originally lived in Texas, then moved to Jersey, and then came back.
No, I'm an original Texan in the sense that I was adopted after 8 days of being alive.
Okay.
So like I'm Texan by birth, but I'm East Coast raised.
So I kind of had it right.
Right? Yeah, you kind of had it right. I'm
So
from
either
parts
way,
of town.
it's Hurricane Sandy is. I mean, they're just beating the shit out of the East Coast right now, and somebody's affected in some way, probably, no matter where you are. I know I'm in Illinois, and Jesse Holland, who writes for Cageside, in addition to writing for MMA Mania, his usual home where he does most of his work. I know I couldn't. I hadn't heard from him for a number of, I think, 2 days. It was getting alarming where we were like, I talked to my boss Tom at Mania, and I said, "Have you heard from Jess?" And he said, "No, it's weird. He just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth, and he never does that. He's always on the ball. He's always working really hard. He gets all his shit done on time. He's never late. All this stuff, and he just disappeared. Texting him on cell, nothing. Calling him, nothing." Finally, he came out earlier today, I believe, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm alive. My family's alive. We got no power. There's trees knocked over. One house over, guy's got a tree on his car. So it's really wild. There's intermittent cell service. Everything's really fucked up. So they're okay. But we want to make sure. And I know Jolie in the thread has already said that she's been without power all weekend and hasn't been able to go home. The subways are all messed up. Rode the bus to the office. No power. It's apocalyptic out there, she said. So we want to make sure we wish everybody all the best. Stay safe. Please, everybody be okay.
Yeah, I mean the crazy thing, like the places that got it the worst, that's where I used to live. Like Asbury Park, like I used to live. I used to live there, and it's annihilated. There's no more Jersey Shore. And I don't mean that like in the sense that like the TV show is canceled.
Right.
I mean like there's no more Jersey Shore. There's no boardwalks. There's no boardwalks. Like there's like the pilings, like the columns that hold up the boards. Those are still in the ground, but there's nothing to walk on. Like there's so much damage. There's so much. It sucks. I'm thinking about driving home. I'm talking to my dad tonight. He's flying in from Japan. He missed the entire hurricane, but he's going home to like a fucked up yard, like a fucked up house, and he's basically like, "Hey, if you want to come home, I can definitely use some help." So I'm probably driving home from Texas on Saturday to help with volunteer with cleanup. Also, you guys at Mania were super affected. Isn't Tom originally from Jersey too?
Yeah, that's where he was. He lives in Florida now, I believe. But yeah, he's originally from Jersey.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
we had another guy who Tom said, Kevin Haggerty. I'm not sure where he lives, and he's like, he's MIA. And then even Hemi, who lives in Ohio, was talking about there's high winds and there's a bunch of stuff going on. My power's out.
and Nolan Howell, like Nolan's, shout out to Nolan. He did the Raw live blog, part of it, and like he was dealing with like I think he said a snowstorm.
Yeah, he was tagging me in. He's like, man, my stuff's going in and out. Can you help out with the live blog and all this stuff? And I'm like, man, I got other stuff I'm trying to do. At one point, I put in the thread, I was like, this is an open thread now. Like, there's no live blog. It's just everybody, you can chat if you want because I had other stuff to do. And then he's like, fuck it, I can get back in there. And he went back in, he's like, I'll never die. Live blog forever and shit. So, yeah. But, yeah, man, it's a crazy situation. I read a statistic on Twitter that 90% of Long Island has no power.
Yep.
Or something like that. That's fucking crazy.
Jersey
Like,
Shore
that's
is being
a lot.
Jersey Shore is being told 7 to 10 days without power. Like 10 days without electricity. That's a long fucking time.
Yeah.
Think about that. Like think about that for a second. Like 10 days without being able to shower, without like hot water. Like you can't use your You can use your toilet once. You could use your toilet once.
Yeah.
During that entire That's fucking scary, dude.
Like Jesse was in the military, army, some shit like that, and he goes. And his thing to me, you can tell, and that's what I told him before the stuff happened. I was kind of joking with him on Twitter. I said, I know your family's in like the best hands possible, and that makes me feel good. And all the best to you, man, and I hope you're okay. And when he texts and stuff, and he said we have rations to make it through the weekend. It's like, but after that, because the power's out, all the cool stuff in the fridge is fucked. It's one of those deals where you're like, okay, don't open the fridge very much because you don't want to let any of the cool escape. And, if you've ever been there before where your power goes out for a few days, you know how to kind of ration it like that. But, like, that's scary as shit to just be in a situation where Mother Nature is fucking you in the ass and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I was joking around on Twitter and making light of the situation, but that's because I'm scared as shit, man. Like, I'm scared, and, like, instead of, trying to worry about it outwardly, I was making jokes about it because, like, my friends could have died. Like, their houses could have gone into the ocean. Like, so many houses washed into the ocean, and, like, my friends could have died, man. Like, so I was making jokes on it all day on Twitter and Facebook, but, like, it's a scary situation. I've lived through hurricanes my entire life, so, like, I know what to expect kind of sometimes, but this one was, like, so much worse.
Yeah, I was actually talking to June. Most of you know by now, June's my lady friend. June, who works on the site. I was talking to her, and I was doing the same thing with Jesse on Twitter. We're joking around. He goes, "Let the record state that my wife asked me to go get her a burrito. We're getting ready to get hit by a hurricane." And I was like, "Man, I hope it's beef and not bean because you don't want to be holed up with that for however long." And he said, "I actually got a couple for myself. It's Jesse time now." And I'm laughing and all that, and it's funny, but then don't hear from him for a day and don't hear from him again for a while, and you start to go, like, I know he can take care of himself. I know he can take care of his family. But there's, like, even if it's small, there's a fucking possibility that that's the last thing I ever got to say to that guy. Like, that fucks with me. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of, like, I'm not on the East Coast, and I've never even been to the East Coast, so I don't know what it's like over there. But it was kind of hitting home a little bit because I know Jesse well enough now that, I consider him a really good friend, and that was just really weird. So. Roth? Did I lose Roth?
No, my bad. I thought that I was still talking. Looks like my like I accidentally hit mute. I apologize for that, guys, for that dead air.
Confused the shit out of me. I'm like, where's Roth? Erica, we're gonna have Keith call in. Do I need to give you his Skype information? Because he gave it to me, and I don't know if we need to call him or he needs to call us, or if there's something for him to call, because he wants to call from Skype.
Either actually works. So he can call us from Skype, or he can friend us on follow FightFans Radio on Skype, and I'll pull him in.
FightFans Radio on Skype. Yeah, he's Keith Harris Glasgow, all one thing, no uppercase. Glasgow as in Glasgow as in Glasgow, Scotland, I believe.
All right, say it again. It's Keith.
Keith, Keith. Harris, Harris. Glasgow, Glasgow.
All right.
We're going to talk Linda McMahon and Senate campaigns and political stuff and WWE and anybody in the threads. You finally get the chance to talk to Keith, man. If you got something you want to ask him, let's hear it. Also,
I'm excited, man. I'm excited because I don't really follow the Connecticut political scene except for what he writes. So, just how shit out of luck Linda McMahon is. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, June's got a bunch of questions she wants me to ask him too. Before he calls in, or right as we're doing that, people have been asking about how to get to our show. People are like, "Man, where's the download links? Where's all that stuff?" You'll always be able to find it here. So the thread itself will always have the show in it. Once the Ustream player goes out, it's put YouTube. and that's uploaded right after it. So if you're having trouble at any point, just come back to this post, and I can tell you that. And before we get off the air here, sorry, reading this there. Before we get off the air, we'll get Erica back on here, and she can help explain everything that's going on with that. So, okay, Keith yet? Go ahead, Rob.
While we're waiting for Keith, what was how do you like what happened at what's it called Hell in a Cell, man?
Hell in a Cell, yeah. I guess that this is our first show since then. Yep. And we'll talk to Keith about that too. But I thought when it first happened, okay, it first goes down, and I'm watching it. I'm going, okay, I'm curious to know what they're going to do. Probably more curious and more looking forward to this show than any show in quite a while, actually, probably since Raw 1000. Just because what are they going to do with Ryback? Jericho says you got to give him the title because you don't want to start pushing. And people, I've had debates endlessly with guys on Twitter, guys that I respect, whose wrestling blogs that I follow, guys like K. Sawyer Paul and Thomas Holzerman and all that, about how much does a win mean in pro wrestling. And I think it means a lot more than we would ever give it credit for, despite the fact that it's not a legit competition. Because Ryback doesn't feel anywhere near as hot as he did before this match, because he lost. Even if it was a schmaz, he lost. And the reaction to him the next night on Raw was almost non-existent. But the finish itself, I actually like the finish itself, because it was the best of a really, really, really bad situation. How'd you feel about it?
I mean, I don't like the fact that they didn't have any plan, to explain the whole, the referee low blow. I'm really pissed about that. Like, you need to have a plan. You need to have a plan to explain something that's like super huge and important. And they have none. They have no idea how they're going to explain it. And they kind of backed themselves into a corner when it was, the referee who fucked over Punk. Was it 2-3 weeks ago?
Yep. Brad
Maddox. And they have no plan. Like, they have no way to explain this. That's the most important part of this entire story, of the entire Hell in a Cell, is being able to explain that. And they can't do it. They have no idea how to.
There's this really weird thing where it's like, apparently it was, okay, Vince, it's all get in a room, where they have a creative meeting and they're like, all right, Vince basically is, what do we got? And you go, well, here's the ideas of how we can get out of this where Punk wins, but Ryback keeps the title, or Ryback keeps his heat. Punk loses but keeps the title, Ryback keeps his heat. Ryback wins the title, Punk loses it. We figure it out from there. Ryback, Rock at Rumble, stuff like that. All these different scenarios. The one that he settled on, that he felt the best about, apparently, because that's what they went with, was Brad Maddox, or Maddox, as Punk was calling him, doing the low blow and the quick count, and then getting the shit beat out of him. And the idea after that is, and I was just reading the Wrestling Observer newsletter from Dave Meltzer, they still don't know. They don't know what they're going to do. They go, well, we'll figure it out later, I guess. So, yeah, that part bugs me too.
I mean, didn't Meltzer say something like, oh, hey, we have like they had like 15 plans and that was the worst one?
Yeah, he felt like that wasn't the best one that they had. Of the stuff he heard, he liked that one the least.
Also, what's up, Keith Harris?
Keith Harris, hi. What's up, man?
Hey. So, one thing I have to say is you Americans can't pronounce Glasgow.
Is that Glasgow? Is that right?
Yeah. It's more,
what was I saying? Glasgow?
Gow. It's the go.
Sorry about that, man.
Should I get you up to speed with what's happening in Connecticut?
Yeah, I mean, you're all the way across the pond and all that, but yeah, I think it's up to you here.
So Linda McMahon is doing the political equivalent of kissing babies during a hurricane. So she's been doing all these good deeds, giving pizzas to volunteer firefighters in Stamford, dropping off colouring books and candy for the kids.
Oh God!
And there's some, I don't know, there's some pictures on the Cromp blog by Daniela Altamari. One of them, it looks a little bit of an uncomfortable hug. to someone there. So that's what she's been doing for the last couple of days.
They closed their offices in Stamford too, right? Because of the hurricane?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because of the weather. So basically, with the humanitarian efforts going on, all political campaigning has stopped. So there's no, all the political ads, no new political ads, no new attacks. So, which is bad for Linda McMahon because she's behind in the race. So with only a week left, sort of every day counts because, like, if she's got some big bombshell, there's not much time left to actually get that out there and try and sway voters at the last minute.
So that's the big money question then, is right off the bat, just straight up, is she going to win or is she going to lose?
At this point, Ceteris Paribus, she's probably going to lose by about 4 to 6 points according to the latest polls. So I'd say there's still an outside chance that she'll win, but maybe about 5 to 10%. So
how has she got that far to where even there's a chance that she might win? Like, how is that because like each of your updates and each post day to day is like, it paints a picture, and this is maybe more you than anything, I guess, is that it paints a picture of like, this is a disastrous campaign. It's a lot of the same crap as last time. She lost last time. She's probably going to lose this time. How has she kept it that close?
Well, the difference is in the opponents. So Dick Blumenthal was the Attorney General for 20 years. This was the previous candidate. So he had a lot of time on TV pushing what he was doing for the state. Everyone knew him in the state. So he built up a lot of goodwill. So even though she was able to stalk him round the world, finding him taking these secret interest donations, and also finding footage that he had lied, misstated that he had served in Vietnam, and he was in the service, but he didn't actually go to Vietnam and actually fight. So even with all that dirt, it didn't really stick. While this time, Chris Murphy, he's only a congressman, so he's only known within a small part of the state. And she basically defined him very early on in the race with her attack ads that he had got a sweetheart loan, so used his position as a congressman to get a better rate of interest on his loan because he bailed out a local bank. And the timeline isn't really there, but it's sort of stuck. And also he missed about 80% of his financial committee hearing meetings, which aren't compulsory, but has aided her in branding him as a slacker. So he's had to basically, that got the race to a dead heat. And then the debates came, and he sort of opened up a gap again because Murphy was a lot better. He was much better on his feet. He's got a better grasp of the issues. So even though she's had another 2 years to prepare, there's a lot of things, she's not comfortable about talking. There was like the question about gay marriage, and she gave a very feeble answer. And like in the Hartford Courant electoral boards, there were things like she was talking about education, and she didn't know how many times children are tested nationally. Things like that she should really have a grasp of now, because she's been doing this for several years.
Yeah, multiple campaigns. For those who may not know, or for those who could be wondering, or people who are mainly pro wrestling fans, and they know Linda from WWE and being Vince McMahon's wife and all this other stuff, why does she want to, be a senator? She's spent so much. How much money total is it up to now?
It will probably get to $100 million. So
$100 million.
Spent $50 million last year. Last 2 years ago, she spent about $43 million now. And it was sort of the first time she ran, she said she wasn't going to spend as much first time. She was just introducing herself to the people of Connecticut. But what's happened is, with the race becoming so close, a month ago, the Democrats poured a lot of money into this race because they can't afford to lose this seat, because, it could be the difference between having a majority, a slim majority, or not having a majority at all, the Republicans having a majority in the Senate. So sort of every close seat counts for both sides. So this has become a bit of a battleground state.
So why does she want to be a senator so bad? Why are they willing to spend that much money to put her there?
I think Vince McMahon woke up one day after Obama became president and thought, the economy sucks, we need to do something about this. And I think it also ties back to steroids after Chris Benoit died. So if you've got someone in the Senate, you've got someone there to stop people being nosy. Like you can do favors for people, and then they'll do favors back for you. So I think that's the other part of it. And I think also, I don't think perhaps Linda McMahon or the McMahon family want to be remembered as wrestling promoters. Vince McMahon has tried to become an American Football League owner. He's got TV division, music division, world.
Promoting concerts now.
Yes, the network, which is the biggest story. That's going to be the big story in wrestling for the next few years, because if the network fails, it will bring the company to its knees, because it's such a big expense.
And that announcement's tomorrow, right? The conference call is tomorrow, where they're supposed, because they kept blowing off the investors and blowing them off and going, well, we're going to have an announcement. We're going to have an announcement. They're trying to hire people. No one wanted the key jobs because they saw the situation and thought, man, this has just failure written all over it in big, bold, red letters. And they just kept pushing it off. Well, now apparently they have an announcement they're going to make, and it's going to come tomorrow, right?
Yeah, provided Vince McMahon is a man of his word.
And we don't know that for sure.
Said 3 months ago that he would have something for the meeting for investors in the next conference call. So I suspect he will have something to say about it, because there was this media report that I blogged about a few days ago where they were pushing these sort of ridiculous statistics that I think, there's 57 million homes in the US, or something like half the homes in the US are wrestling fans. 20% of them are hardcore fans, so that's about 11 million homes. 40% of them are only watch occasionally, and the rest are sort of lapsed fans who used to watch but don't watch anymore. Which, when you look at combine all the TV ratings figures together, and you don't get 11 million homes watching all the shows. If you combine,
that's the hardcore audience.
That's the hardcore audience, and as it's likely to be a subscription model, you're not going to get these lapsed fans or casual fans to pay $15 a month to pay for the service. You're just going to get the hardcore fans, and and we're probably talking like, I don't know, a real significant percentage, 10, 20, 25% of all their hardcore fans in America to buy the station to make it profitable, because it's going to cost so much to run.
I mean, it's weird because they have, the NFL network is kind of a good example, because the NFL here in America is far and away the most popular sport. I mean, they do, they beat Raw consistently really badly, 10 million viewers every Monday night, and that's considered bad. They do 10 million viewers for the 49ers Cardinals game, and that's not a marquee game by any stretch, and not that many people cared. Still got 10 million viewers. They're doing 7 million viewers on Thursday nights for Thursday night football games that frankly aren't that good, and the games themselves aren't super competitive. And, it's like, oh, well, I could go without watching this, and they're still doing a lot more with a lot less. And we're talking the most popular sport by far, and their network doesn't do that well. And it took them That network's been going since 2003. A lot of people didn't even know the NFL had a network until like 2009.
I mean,
So I have no clue how WWE is going to get their network off the ground.
I mean, not even the WWE, but like even the UFC was in negotiations to do G4 and buy G4 like 2 years ago before the Fox deal was announced. Like launching your own network, it's huge. You need to have the content. You need 24 hours worth of content, 365 days a year, forever.
And Oprah,
like Oprah can't. Like Oprah's having such a hard time.
Oprah money,
right? And she's finding it impossible. And she has legions, and she can't do it. It's
endless amounts of money, and it's Oprah freaking Winfrey, and her network isn't doing well. WWE, like he said, they had to come up with some really creative statistics just to kind of make, you know what I mean, and be like, well, this is what we're thinking, and people like the investors are going to hear that and they're going to go, come on. Raw does 4 million viewers. If you're lucky, and those 4 million, it starts at 4, and then by the time the 3 hours is over, it's at 3.5. You know what I mean?
And on top of that, you have the fact that like, think how many wrestling fans are kids.
Yeah.
Like so yeah, you may be doing that 4.5 in the ratings, or your attendance looks awesome, but a lot of those are little kids. And little kids don't have money. They just don't. Like they're little kids. They don't have money. And so, like, try explaining to your parents, hey, I need you to add another $15 on top of your phone, cable, and internet bill every single month, so I can watch 4 hours of wrestling a week.
Yeah.
It's
Keith,
insane.
is it at 15 that they would do, Keith? Is that how much they said it would cost?
There's been no announcement, but $15 seems to be what's pitched in the media reports.
So it's like an HBO cable type thing.
Yeah, because none of the cable companies, they're cash strapped at the moment. They don't want to pay for an improving product, and they also look at all the content on free television and probably look at dropping ratings for Raw from 2 to 3 hours, and think the demand's not there for it, So because you can't run first, it won't be first run program. It will be repeats. It will be, takes from the vault. Predominantly make up the footage of this network. So that's going to get rating. So they're not going to want to pay. But to sort of bring it back to the kids and Linda McMahon, the interesting point is that more kids watched during the Attitude Era than they do now. Which is just interesting because they now try and specifically target kids, but when they were trying to target more of the older audience, that's when they had a ridiculously young skew in like their average viewer. Their median viewer is about 23 or something like that. So it's just like, I just find that interesting.
That's maybe an indicator that if they, I don't know if they should go full blown back to the Attitude Era type storylines, but I mean, and that's to, like you said, to bring Linda back into this. And I got a couple more questions there. Some that June was wondering was, how does she affect? I know a lot of people think this, and I've heard both sides, that she doesn't affect anything they do on WWE TV with her campaign. And then I've heard the side that says she definitely does, and if she gets elected, get ready for a really watered down, really tame product. Do they do things on WWE TV, Raw, SmackDown, whatever, simply because of what she's doing with her Senate campaign in Connecticut? Is that true or false?
Well, it's somewhere in the middle. I think the move to PG was before Linda McMahon came, started off her political career. So
that's not her. The PG thing is not Linda McMahon.
It's not just her. It's sort of also it's like more kid-friendly sponsors. It's also, I think, after Benoit wanting to move the company in a more positive direction to get more positive PR. And that's all tied into Linda because, it's sort of it's the general move in the same direction. Like, having Linda become a politician was to make the company partly more respectable. So there's that. And there's also the funny, we're not coordinating, our sort of our spokespeople, but they sort of try and do everything in lockstep, with the only exception being the silly Donald Trump story, where you had Brian Flynn, the WWE spokesman, first say, "Oh no, WWE never gave Donald Trump a $5 million donation because obviously he's a batshit crazy birther. We don't want anything to do with him now, even though the biggest WrestleMania buy rate at that time just surpassed Rock versus Cena." So then he had to come back and say, no, it was the Vince and Linda McMahon Foundation. And then they had to come back again and say, no, Linda had nothing to do with this. This was a personal donation by Vince McMahon.
So they just got everything mixed up.
Yeah, but I think on the IRS forms, like the charity forms, it was written to be a donation by WWE. So I think it's sort of backtracking a bit, but it's like one of these things, they say that the forms are filled in incorrectly by Donald Trump and it was actually a personal donation by Vince McMahon. But I think it's just tracking, basically.
It's such a WWE thing to the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing,
But most of the time, they've been very clever, because whenever Linda McMahon or one of her spokespeople is asked about WWE, they just throw their hands up in the air and say, "This is nothing to do with us. You've got to get in contact with WWE," and then WWE will come up with their own spin. What Linda McMahon's team might do if they do say anything is say, "Well, our opponents aren't focused on the issues. We're focused about jobs, getting people back to work."
I hear that every time. It's like the answer to everything is, "Hey, how's the weather? I'm going to create jobs."
Well, I thought, having sat through all 4 Connecticut debates, sort of live tweeted 3 of them, I thought I could create a perfect drinking game here, like sort of the McMahon / Chris Murphy debating drinking game, and you could be drunk in 1 hour.
Yeah, if you said if the word jobs comes up, you die from alcohol poisoning, it'd be terrible. So if she loses, okay, is that it? Is she finally done trying? Is she not? I mean, because $100 million. I mean, is that how much of that is actually coming back to that? How much of that is their money? How much of that is campaign contributions? How much of that? That's a lot of money.
That's all their money. So the
first God, that's all their money?
The first time around, they had no campaign contributions whatsoever.
What?
Jesus.
$50 million out of pocket?
Because they thought it would play better, because then they can say, well, we've got no money from outside. We're beholden to no one.
And they still got beat.
What a terrible idea.
And then this time, I think donations are limited to, I don't know, several $1,000s or something. I'd have to check.
So it's still mostly their money.
Yeah, so I think they've raised about $2 million, from outside, and the rest is their own money. So they've I think at the moment they've spent about $43 to $44 million of their own money and $2 million on top. And I think there's been a few outside groups helping them out with, advertising a certain ad here or door knocking or something like that.
So if they lose, and I mean, like you said, looks like that's what's going to happen. If they lose, do they finally look at the gaping wound where they've bled out millions and I can't even fathom that kind of money. And that's just, I hear that and I think you got to be crazy to spend that kind of money. Is you lose one time and you go, okay, like you sit down and go, okay, it's worth it to spend that much money again just to get her there. And I guess they thought the juice was worth the squeeze here. But if they lose again, she's done, right? They're not going to try this again, are they?
Well, I was actually listening to the PW Torch podcast before I came on here, and they had Muchnick, who's a wrestling journalist, and Daniela Altamari of the Hartford Courant, who's one of the leading political journalists in Connecticut, and their answer's quite interesting. So Daniela Altamari raised the possibility that she might run for governor. But being governor is a very tough job that she might not want because you get all the crap basically. I think, to non-PG terms, but much as Vince McMahon is calling the shots, and he will say, if she doesn't win this time, to call it quits. And
because the network, I mean, if we're talking about, like you said, if they do the network, they spend the, $100 million it'll take to get that off the ground, and that fails. We're talking seriously about WWE and what the future is, instead of just Raw's just there. WWE's there. They're set in stone. It's an American institution at this point. I mean, it's WWE. They're always going to be around. But 2 campaigns, 100 million network, and money doesn't. They're not making that much money.
Well, you've got to remember that they've siphoned off a lot of money over the years through, like, the dividends. So if you're thinking each quarter, Vince McMahon is sort of taking several $1 million out of the company in the dividend because, since they've been running the company, publicly since 2000, that's 12 years of, say, perhaps $20 million of money being taken out of the company, as well as like all their other assets. So they've still got a lot of wealth. They wouldn't be spending this money if they couldn't afford to. The other thing with Linda, though, is that she's not getting any younger. So she's 63. So if she wants to make another run for Senate, the next race won't be for another 4 years, and then she'll be 67. And does she want to probably? I don't know. At that age, does she want to try again? Really? Maybe she'd be happy just being a grandmother at that point. Yeah,
I can't. God, to lose twice and come back and come back for more, it just feels. Like, I don't know. We wouldn't see her on WWE TV, though, would we? At any point, she's probably done with that forever.
Well, what it reminds me of a bit is the XFL. In the XFL, Vince McMahon, after the first season, wanted to go through with it. Even after NBC pulled out, it was when UPN pulled out as well because of the low ratings. He threw the towel in, and they lost more than $50 million in that first season. So if that basically his TV partners saved him from probably losing like $150 million or something ridiculous on 2 seasons combined of the XFL. But there's no outsiders here saying, don't do it. You can't do it. It's their own money. So there's no one, sometimes I think the McMahon family, they dig their heels in. Like when they've got people attacking them from outside, it's sort of like, we're going to make this work. We're going to do it.
They've only ever made wrestling work.
Well, that's right.
Everything else he's done, literally, and that's not even like cutting him down. I mean, you try things, and sometimes things go well, and sometimes they don't. But the only thing they've been a real success in and not lost a ton of money is wrestling. So, and like you said, they hate wrestling. It feels like they don't even like it.
But politics is sort of very, very similar to wrestling. It's sort of these back and forth political promos, and it's sort of it's almost like, before, like when you're a wrestling promoter, you try and dupe the marks. And it's sort of like with politics, it's very similar. You try and dupe people into believing that you're going to do something that you won't do in the end. Well, it seems that way a lot of the time. Right. So, there are some parallels.
My last question on the Linda thing was the Susan G. Komen donation. And June's also wondering about that. Was that like some sort of violation of like campaigning laws or whatever? Like, was that just a publicity stunt in the home stretch? Like you said, it's almost time for people to go vote to see if she's going to win. And here they are on TV grandstanding, making a big deal about, hey, we're $1 million for the Susan G. Komen. I mean, is that, what's going on there?
I think, to backtrack a little bit, they've already got an FEC complaint levelled at them by the Connecticut Journal Inquirer, who made this remark about Linda McMahon deriving her wealth from violence, porn, and general raunch. And then WWE were really aggressive and threatened lawsuits. And in retaliation, they said that, this was trying to influence the election, trying to create a chill on journalists from speaking their mind. So they've already got a complaint, but I don't think anything will come of it. So I think similar to this is that they've obviously got their lawyers, they've got Jerry McDevitt, their attack dog, to vet everything, I'm sure, that they don't cross the line. I think being a lot more careful this time, not crossing the line than they were last time, was like the Stand Up for WWE campaign and giving out. They wanted to give out merchandise outside the places where people voted. So I think they've been a lot more careful this time not to cross the line. But with regard to the donation, and like Be a Star and things like this, it's obviously linked into the politics because the media campaigns pushing what they're doing, all the good stuff they're doing, is aimed at the Connecticut market. And they say that's because in this state we've been mischaracterized more than any other state. But obviously, it's being done to help Linda McMahon out, to try and help her win. Because, at the end of the day, this is Vince McMahon's money at stake. So he's going to use all his tools at his disposal, including what he can do through WWE, to try and get the end result he wants.
I think we're still okay with it, though, because, and June wrote about that, and you talked about that, is that we're okay with, if they're going to donate or raise, $1 million for the Susan G. Komen organization, even if it's, you can see right through it, and even if their intentions are less than honest, that's still $1 million going to an organization that's there to help support people who are dealing with breast cancer and are struggling through it and are fighting for their lives and all that stuff. So even if it's see-through and it's complete, kind of shisty and a little shady, we're okay with that because it's going to a good cause.
I do also, probably in their past history, they've been probably more shameless about sort of the good deeds they've done, like during like the steroid scandal, and I think there was some issue when Hulk Hogan was facing Sergeant Slaughter, and they had like Sergeant Slaughter like burn a flag and things like that. That they're doing some like good deeds with Hulk Hogan as well with the army, and they're trying to put that into the storylines. And so they've got a track record that when media scandal hits, their philanthropy efforts increase and they publicise them a lot more. So it's sort of part of their track record, their MO. So they're not going to change now, I don't think.
Right. All right, Keith. Well, we have enjoyed talking to you, my man. It's good. It's good to finally get you on here and let the Cagesiders hear your voice after years of tireless service and bringing them the most in-depth coverage of anything you're covering.
Yep. Well,
so we appreciate it.
Okay. Well, it's been good chatting to you both. I'd have liked to have heard a bit more of that.
Sorry about that.
Roth's just hanging out.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out tonight, man, and I haven't really been following the scene, the Linda McMahon political scene too much. I follow your posts on Cageside, but that's about it. So I'm still getting back into really following everything. So Geno really covered everything I even wondered about or knew to wonder about.
Okay, well, if either of you guys have any other questions, you know where to get me.
Right, we're gonna bring you back on, man. We appreciate you coming on. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Catch you later.
Later.
So that was Keith, everybody. For everyone wondering how he sounds and his voice and all that stuff, his accent's awesome, by the way. People from Scotland have the coolest accent, but
it's really anybody from like the English Isles, like Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, like they have the wildest accents, man.
Jolie's asking where he's from. Oh man, I was getting ready to pronounce it, and I'm like, that's the first thing he said was you always mispronounce it.
It's Glasgow.
Glasgow, okay, Glasgow. Jolie, he's from Glasgow, Scotland. So that's why he's got that awesome accent. But I'm looking at some stuff before we get off here soon. I'm looking at, it's not a humble brag. I'm not trying to brag even, but I'm proud of what we've been able to do at Cageside Seats, and I want to say something about it. I want to give a very public shout out to CJ, to Nolan, to Jesse, to June, and especially Keith, and even to Sergio. When he was around, he helped build this and become something really good. I was looking at some numbers. When I took over, the month before I took over at Cageside Seats, this was like June of 2011. Okay, so I've been there for just over a year. And we had been doing good and, kind of implemented our coverage plan and how we wanted to go about stuff and how we wanted to do things, get really involved with the community, do the stuff like the tournaments, and then we started the podcast and all this other stuff that we've been doing. When I started, for the month of June of 2011, there were 91,000 unique visitors to Cageside Seats, which is like, yeah, okay, cool, that's cool. But it's October of 2012, and this is the last day of October. 91,000 uniques, 224,000 page views in June of 2011 for Cageside Seats for that month. It's October of 2012 now. I've had the reins for just over a year, and I'm looking at the numbers just before we get ready to switch the day. And so we went from 91,000 uniques to this month we're going to do 445,000.
Holy shit.
We went from 224,000 page views in June of 2011. This month we're going to do, right now we're at 1,017,000. So that's the growth that we've had, and that's, you're going to read other sites and they're going to have a bunch more traffic and all that stuff, but we've been working our ass off. And I want to say on the show, I want to say thank you, Sergio, while you were here, man. I love you, brother. I appreciate everything you did. You were a big part in helping us grow to get to the point where, last month we came this fucking close to breaking 1 million page views, and we've been working so hard to get there. And last month we had the benefit of Jerry Lawler having a heart attack, which that did 150,000 views in like an hour.
Yeah, I mean, you've had some huge days, man. Like WrestleMania, you killed it during WrestleMania.
And then Rumble coming up and another Mania, we're even better equipped for it with the Switch. And the page views have gone up because of the way they've set the websites up and all the support I've gotten from everybody at SB Nation and all that stuff. So yeah, publicly thanking everybody, Nolan, CJ, June, Jesse, Keith, thank you guys so much, man. We're doing so well, and it's only looking up. Like I said, the Rumble's coming around. We got the podcast back going. As far as I know, the podcast numbers are pretty good. We're going to start doing after pay-per-view shows, right, Roth?
Yep, we're going to start doing after pay-per-view shows. I also saw during the live blog, people were talking about, hey, like, people, it seems like they like having the ability to talk about shows, having the option of at least talking with their friends and and also in the air. Like I've also been seeing like during the live blogs that Nolan does, people saying like, "Hey, I want them for like Raw and SmackDown too." Like, you really could have Cageside Live nightly, basically, because the WWE is having that much content out there.
It's funny that they would say that too, and I told them, I mean, our comments for the Raw Live blog have gone down. We were doing like 1,200. This past Monday we did like 600. And they're like,
last Monday sucked.
Yeah, they were like, well, the show sucks and everything, and they'd keep saying, yeah, but Cageside Live made it bearable. I would tune into the last 5 minutes and then immediately go to Cageside and go, let's hear what they have to say, because Geno's going to shit on it. Maybe we'll get some Geno time, and Sergio's going to laugh, and Geno's going to not know what Sergio's talking about when he brings up the Indies. You know what I mean? So, but it's a 3-hour show, man. Like, are we really going to watch a 3-hour show and then do a? Me and Sergio were going 3 hours on the podcast.
You guys were going 3 hours on the podcast. That was
at some points we did that, dude. I can't believe it.
Man, that would be ridiculous. Like, can you imagine 6 hours of wrestling? And
just straight wrestling. And we would go off the rails. That's what would happen. Is we would just start talking about crazy shit. So, I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't mind it a lot. But I realize too that, I mean, like I said, the setup we have is, I think so much about like making sure we're growing. So it's like, Nolan was having trouble doing the live blog, and I'm like, man, I can't do it because I need to do these other stories. And then I do a story about Beth Phoenix getting fired, and then, it's up for 2 hours and it's got 5,000 views. And I'm like, man, I gotta, we gotta worry about the other stuff. So I always worry that if we brought it back immediately after Raw and just shit all over Raw like everybody wants us to.
That's really what they want. That's really what they want, is just to hear.
That's what they want.
They don't really care about Cageside Live per se. They're just like, let's hear what they're going to say. This is going to be like, they have to be pissed about this.
Yeah, that's basically it. There were so many times they'd be like, I guarantee when they get to talking about this, Geno's going to fucking go crazy. Or they want some of your promos, man, that you've cut on Untethered. We haven't gotten that yet on Cageside, man. You guys, I don't know if you listen to Untethered MMA. It's on FightFansRadio.com every Thursday at like 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. But you got to listen to it because every now and again, Fagan and Subbo, they stumble across a topic that Roth just catches, and then he has his version of Geno time where he just fucking goes off. Like, what was the last time you did that? Was it John Jones?
No, it was this week. It was last week.
Was it last week?
Yeah, it was Subbo. When I talked down to him like he was my child.
So we gotta fucking, at some point, hopefully some shit happens, like at Survivor Series, because that's going to be the first post pay-per-view show we do. That's November 18th. So right after Survivor Series, Cagesiders, we are going to be doing a show, and you can listen to us bitch and complain about how Ryback destroyed everybody on Team Punk, because that's what they're going to do.
Oh, of course.
So hopefully there's something on the show that you see that just makes you want to go crazy and you snap while you're on the show.
And just, I become Ryback and just ask you guys to feed me more.
Yeah, basically. That's what people, like, I have followers on Twitter just because of, psychotic episodes during Bear Games. Like, people like to see people go nuts and just lose their fucking mind.
You also lose a bunch of followers because, like, people don't, like, completely forget. I'm not going to say that, like, they don't realize, because they obviously followed you at one point, but, like, they completely forget that during football season, you just become a crazy person. And so, like, once football and Bears games start, you're like, fuck these fucking fucks, they should fucking kill themselves. And Lovie Smith, you're a dick face, and like you just go nuts. And then people are like, I don't want to follow Geno Morosco anymore because
I thought he was cool, but this is like, you're calling the dude a retard because he's got a weird look on his face. And like, you want to kill Fox because they're cutting the cameras to him. Like, I literally have people though that follow me when the Bear game starts and unfollow me when the Bear game ends. That happens. Like, I'm dead serious. That happens. That's what people want. That's what we need to do. But Cageside Live just needs to turn into big shouting matches where we cut promos on each other because that's what people really enjoy. People just being pissed off and shit.
Like, nobody gives a shit. Like, they don't really care about our opinions. Y'all don't care about our opinions.
Like,
I'm
they're gonna
sick
be
of
like,
this crap.
we just had a really informative chat with Keith, and they'd be like, man, this Linda talk sucks, man. I wish somebody just fucking beat somebody up or somebody just go crazy. Maybe we should
Everybody
say
was
the
talking
Bears
about his
suck.
accent.
Red.
Everybody was talking about his accent. Like, y'all don't even care.
Like, oh, that's too good, man. That's too good. All right, well, fuck, I can't even. It's already been an hour.
It has been an hour. Can we do some quick Halloween Havoc talk?
Quick Halloween Havoc talk. What's up?
Yo, what about that Halloween Havoc that didn't complete?
Huh?
With that Halloween Havoc, I never got to see the ending of.
The Goldberg?
DDP Goldberg, man.
DDP Goldberg, that disaster where they didn't buy enough time. I don't even remember what happened. I think it was they didn't buy enough time.
No. They bought 3 hours, and WCW. This is going to be a theme basically on this show, at least on my end. It's going to be talking about how retarded WCW is, but WCW just didn't think that there would be any consequences for going over the 3 hours, and so like they didn't time it correctly. They didn't schedule things, which you have to do with pay-per-view, and like the match went over 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think they and you know, people run long, and obviously the way the fucking setup is. I mean, with WWE, you know, they'll tell the ref, you know, he's got a fucking earpiece in. They'll tell the ref, like, hey, tell him to wrap it up. You know, they got 12 minutes, and he'll say, hey, you got 2 minutes left. And so they'll go into their final, you know, setup, and they kind of have the match idea in their head before they go out. They go, okay, what do you want to do? How do you want to do the finish? How do you want to set this up and that? We'll do this, and maybe we'll do this, and whatever. We'll figure it out when we're out there. And then the ref tells them, hey, you only have so much time. Like, you just know WCW didn't have that. Like, because nobody gave a shit what anybody was doing.
They had a really good idea guy and a mediocre idea guy, and then they also had Dusty Rhodes. Like, they had idea guys. They had no idea how to run a company. And then the last thing, which I really want to talk about before we go off the air, and I'm sorry, Sheamus and Big Show, they stole the show on Sunday. Do you agree?
I actually had a plan to write an entire post about that. I was very surprised. That was actually a really good match. But you know what it is? That's good booking.
They went 20 minutes.
They went booking.
20 minutes, man.
That shows what they can do when they book a guy like Sheamus and they make him look the way they do, to where they set up those near falls and Show hits the knockout punch. And you know this should be a finish, but Sheamus is probably going to kick out. But I don't know, maybe it will be a finish. And then he kicks out, and then he hits the bro kick, and you go, okay, that's definitely the finish. And then Show kicks out, and then everybody's like, oh my God, this is crazy. That's booking, and it's two talented performers knowing how to grab the audience in that manner based on the booking. So yeah, WWE deserved applause for that shit.
Big Show, I guess some people don't like him. Like, Paul White is a really solid athlete, and he's a really solid wrestler, and he's a great worker. Like that to me, that was the match of the event.
Yeah, match of the night for sure. He's not even a bad actor. Like, Knucklehead was a flaming piece of shit, but he's not even a bad actor.
No, he was great as Captain Insano.
Captain Insano showed no mercy. All right, guys. Next week we're going to be joined by Jonathan Snowden. So we're expecting some controversy. I don't know what side Roth's going to be on, but I'm going to be going after Snowden, and he's going to be coming after me. And I guess Roth, you going to be the special referee? You going to be Brad Maddox in this motherfucker, or what?
I'm going to be Sting. You don't know what side I'm on. Just hiding out in the rafters.
You're going to be in your black and white, and I'm going to think you're for the other side, but that fucking bat better be for the good guys, I'll tell you that. I'm the babyface for sure. Because if you guys know Snowden is definitely the heel here, right?
Oh, man. He's definitely a heel. Like,
it's gonna be fun talking pro wrestling with that dude. And
that dude loves talking pro wrestling.
He does, and he's got his book, Shooters, if you guys have read it, or if you haven't. I haven't read it, so
it's awesome.
I'm going to be a little underprepared here.
Okay, so Shooters, last thing before we go off, shout out to Snowden for Shooters. Like, if you want to know the actual history of, like, professional wrestling, but, like, not the territory days, but, like, you want to know about the actual used to be tough guys that used to do, like, the challenges at, like, fairs and stuff, you need to pick up this. like, you need to pick up this book. It's incredible. Also, if you guys, because we just got a note from Erica, the people that have been wondering about the iTunes and things like that, you subscribe to FightFans Radio in your RSS feeds, and you'll know every single time that it gets added to iTunes. If you search on iTunes for Cageside Live, it's not going to come up. It has to be under FightFans Radio, and then you get to see all the amazing shows that they do. They have one on BJJ, one for just it's regular talking about MMA. They have the Untethered podcast. Sign up for it on your RSS, and that's when you're going to know when the things get when the shows get posted to iTunes.
Yeah, they got a lot of good stuff there, and we encourage you to check it out. And again, like I said, it's uploaded straight to YouTube, and then you'll be able to find it on YouTube, and then I put it right in the thread as soon as it's uploaded on YouTube. So if all else fails, go subscribe to the RSS feed on FightFansRadio.com. And if all else fails with that, just come back to this thread that you're in right now. I hope you're in it. You have to be in it to be fucking listening, unless you're on FightFans, whatever. And it'll be right here on YouTube. So there you go. And if you still have questions after that, hit me up, and I'll hit up Erica, and we'll get it figured out. So, Roth, anything else before we go?
We're good.
All right, we'll see you next week with Jonathan Snowden in a steel cage match with Geno Mmmmmrrrrrooooooooooooooo, the General, baby. I always win. Always.
It's a Punjabi prison match.
Oh, is it? Okay. I'm fine with that, too. All right, everybody. Later.
Bye, guys.
Yes, sir, we promised you a great
Gorgeous
main
George.
event.
Here it comes. Classy, the makeup.
Andre, the Giant. WrestleMania.
Everyone has a price.
Ladies and gentlemen, it